Struggling to grow your shoulders no matter how hard you train? The missing piece might be your rear delts. I've always been self-conscious about having a slimmer frame, especially my lack of broad shoulders. While training your front and side delts definitely helps, it wasn't until I started training my rear delts where I really started to see some more improvement. Not only that, but training my rear delts added some serious volume to my shoulders. When this muscle is overlooked, your shoulders can end up looking flat and underdeveloped, especially from side angles or when posing. For me, I've just used these 2 rear delt exercises I will cover in this video to bring my shoulders from this to that. So, what are these exercises? You might be surprised to hear that it's not face pulls, and here's why. Many studies show that face pulls definitely do increase muscle growth in the rear delts. I agree. However, it's difficult to just isolate your rear delts. This is because face pulls also target the upper back and traps. Now that's 3 separate muscle groups receiving stimulation, which unfortunately removes load from your rear delts. While you can attempt the movement by not squeezing your shoulder blades, for me, this was just too tricky when there are other exercises I can use which isolate the rear delts easier. So, what did I do instead? I moved to a more stable and isolated movement that didn't involve me squeezing my upper back. This was rear delt cable flies. Here's why. It comes down to 2 big things: isolation and constant tension. Unlike compound movements like face pulls, rear delt cable flies allow you to isolate the rear delts without shifting tension onto your upper back or traps. This is backed by EMG studies, which show that rear delt flies, especially when done with cables, create higher and more targeted activation of the posterior deltoid compared to exercises like rows or pulls. Another reason I prefer cables is the resistance curve. Free weights like dumbbells only give you peak tension at certain parts of the movement, usually where gravity works against you the most. With cables, your rear delts stay under constant tension throughout the entire range of motion, which means more muscle fiber recruitment and a better growth stimulus. Plus, I find the movement more controlled and easy to fine-tune. You can adjust angles, arm paths, and positioning to match your biomechanics, which help me to stay consistent without flaring up my traps or joints. For me, this made all the difference in adding shape and thickness to the back of my shoulders, ultimately building that broader, fuller look I was chasing for years. If you don't like rear delt cable flies, or you tend to switch up your training regularly, then maybe you want a second option. So, apart from rear delt flies, what was the second exercise I used to help grow my posterior delts? Following the same concept, that I want to avoid movements that involve me pulling back and squeezing my shoulder blades together. The next exercise doesn't really have a known name. We will call it behind the back rear delt raise. This next exercise is going to feel quite strange, but the best exercises are the ones that feel the weirdest. Grab an easy bar and stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Hinge at the hips until your torso is about 45 degrees to the floor. You don't want to be fully bent over like a row. Let the bar hang just behind your calves, arms relaxed. From here, raise the bar in a wide arc behind you until your arms are roughly parallel to the ground. Don't overextend or try to squeeze your shoulder blades. The goal here is to keep tension directly on the rear delts. I'm not using heavy weight here, because when I do, my traps want to take over, or I start swinging. So, why does this work so well? Because it meets the same criteria we talked about earlier: isolation and constant tension. Since the bar travels behind your body, you're forced to keep your traps quiet and your rear delts working. And because you're not squeezing your scapulae together, the tension stays where we want it, directly on the posterior delts. Personally, this exercise helped me connect to my rear delts in a way that no exercise ever did. It's unconventional, but that's what makes it effective. So, If you're stuck doing the same rear delt exercises and you're not noticing any progress, maybe you want to try one of these two. Those are my two go-to exercises I've been using to help grow my rear delts over the past 2 years, and I genuinely hope they help you as much as they have helped me. If you enjoyed this video, there's plenty more coming. Some like this, and others completely different. If you want to stay in the loop, consider subscribing.